Hello, my wonderful friends. It is I, Pat Flynn, and I was just finishing a workout, and I had a flash of philosophical insight. You know, it's always at the most inconvenient times that you get a concept, right? Either in the shower, or you're driving, or doing a workout. Anyway, I'm not the first person to have mentioned this or discovered it, but it just struck me as important to present to you right now. It concerns contingency arguments. As you know, we've thought about the contingency argument a lot on this podcast. And it actually concerns, I think, a mistake that some people make when presenting the contingency argument. And that's failing to differentiate between two understandings of contingency. On the one hand, in the more contemporary sense, we have an understanding of contingency that we might call a sort of modal contingency, that something is contingent insofar as we think that it could have been otherwise or not at all. But in a more traditional sense, the notion of contingency was understood as something literally sort of hanging upon, like this lantern, something sort of hanging upon something else. It's a dependent contingency. Something is dependently contingent, right? I've heard these phrases used before, that we have something that is modally contingent or something that is dependently contingent. Now, here's why this matters. I think if you're working from the idea of something being dependently contingent, you can run a pretty strong line of reasoning through to a independent foundation, a supreme foundation, a purely actual foundation. That's sort of Aquinas' stuff, right? And he's got the background metaphysics to set up for this idea of some things that are dependently contingent, right? And that seems right, right? If all of reality can't be just dependently contingent things, right? Things that just sort of borrow the reality at every moment they exist from something else. You never get back to something that actually has any sort of money, so to speak, that doesn't have any reality that it can give. That's a quick summary view. But the idea of, if you're working from the idea of modal contingency, I don't think you can just leap into that line of reasoning right away, because what we need is some additional line of reasoning to think that whatever is modally contingent is dependently contingent. What bridges that gap? How do we go from something that is modally contingent to dependently contingent? And I've seen various thinkers kind of make that leap, that just because something's modally contingent, it is dependently contingent, and then they sort of run a sort of traditional contingency argument. I think that's too fast. I think you need to give further reasons for why anything that could have been otherwise is a sort of thing that is borrowing reality from something beyond itself, that is a sort of being that is thoroughly caused to exist at any moment that it does exist. Now, I think you can give reasons. I think you can give arguments to try and move from things that are modally contingent to dependently contingent. But I often see in presentations, even professional ones, I've read a number of books on the contingency argument, where they're making that move from something that is modally contingent to dependently contingent without giving an argument that whatever is modally contingent is dependently contingent. I'll give you one example. That would be Mortimer Adler and his book, How to Think About God. I think that he makes that sort of move, and I think it's a little too quick. So something to think about. Hopefully, just adds a bit of clarification, a little bit an extra flashlight for your philosophical toolkit and ways to think about the contingency argument. So a question for you would be this: do you think that this is a legitimate distinction? And if so, what would you say? Do you think that what would your argument be to move from something that seems like it's modally contingent, that could have been otherwise or not at all, to that thing actually being something that when it exists, it literally sort of is deriving its existence from something else. It's dependently contingent. If you've got an argument or a reason for that, maybe a collection of reasons, I'd like to hear it. So drop a comment, and happy Sunday to you all. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for the support of the channel. And let me know if you like these little just quick, off-the-cuff, middle of the workout philosophy videos. I'm trying to do more short form content like this, just sharing ideas, often half baked, but anyway, that's kind of the fun of philosophy, right? See you guys later.